Greetings everyone and welcome back to 365 Days of Prog. Today we're going to be reviewing One Size Fits All by Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention.
Hi, my name's Naomi. I'm an avid progressive rock fan, but I'm a long ways from knowing all the prog albums out there. But this year, I'm gonna give it a try. This is 365 Days of Prog.
But before everything else, I have a huge announcement to make to you all. So the last video I did about Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, about the album Uncle Meat, exploded on my channel and is my most popular video to date. So I realized you guys want a lot more Frank Zappa and I'm totally into it. So besides the review we're doing today, in a week's time from now, I will be doing a live stream on the channel where we will be reviewing We're Only In It For The Money by Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention. I will do this live stream live and it will never be seen again by anyone afterwards. I'm gonna keep it to myself, so you better stay tuned to that one. And if you want to know when I'm doing the live stream, just hit the subscribe button and get your notifications so you'll know exactly when I go live. But that was the announcement. Let's get right into this video.
Wrap 'em up, roll 'em out, get 'em out of my way.
So this is Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention's 10th and last album. Now, many people see this as their magnum opus before they disbanded. So, released in 1975, Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention have been going strong for almost a decade, doing their humorous rock, jazzy, fusion, whatever music, and they've matured and shifted a lot. Now, one might say that this album, One Size Fits All, is their most musically mature album, and it is mostly a musical-driven album, so it doesn't put a lot of emphasis on the tracks that make humor, but rather look at the melodical side of their creation. Deciding to focus less on the skits and the humor, this album gives us a more and better glimpse at Frank Zappa's inner workings. And this is why I myself and a lot of other people would say that if you're trying to get into Frank Zappa, this is the right album to start off with. Its jazzy fusion music is really good, it's really well compositioned, and it's overall accessible, mainly when you look at it compared to his other works. And on my own, I tried realizing what made the music of One Size Fits All more special and different from other albums by the Mothers and Frank Zappa, and I came up with the conclusion that this album feels a whole lot more inspired. And while the album Uncle Meat was mainly made out of live performances and humorous tracks, I think that this one actually really tries to make the composition more straightforward and a whole lot more, prominent on here. And I love it very much because the album on here is basically the signature Zappa sound, but a lot more melodically impressive. But enough with all my ramblings. What is this album like? So starting off with the first track on here called Inca Roads, I know this track, semi-know it, let's say. I know that I've heard some of it in the past, but never heard it as a whole. And I'd have to say, while it is a good track, it is not great and there are better onwards in this album. I really like the two-parter of The Sofa, the one that comes in the, starting mid-section of the album, and the other one that closes the album off. I think those two tracks really put an emphasis on the composition, and that's exactly what I was talking about. And another thing is that I was really dumbstruck when they started singing in German on the second part of The Sofas. I just wasn't expecting it, and there's no real reason for them to sing in German, and I know some German myself, and like the lyrics were nonsensical as ever, so that was kind of odd. And I was actually about to choose the Sofa #1 as my favorite track on here, but then came Pajama People. And Pajama People is such a good track, and I think the thing I loved about it the most was the guitar solo in the mid section. It was so long and so meaty, so good. It was actually so good that my girlfriend will hate this one for sure, and that tells you a lot. No, I'm just kidding. She likes good music, but she doesn't like my music, and whenever she doesn't like something, it's usually very, very good. And I actually knew beforehand, reading about this album, that one of Zappa's heroes was playing on here, being Johnny Watson Jr. Now, I thought that he was behind this amazing guitar solo on Pajama People, but apparently I was wrong. He does not play on here. He actually plays on the track San Bernardino. And while he might be a very talented player, I found that the guitar playing on there was rock basic guitar playing. It wasn't really all that impressive like what Zappa does on other albums, but what I did find very impressive about the track San Bernardino was the cameo by Captain Beefheart playing his harmonica. I think he just harmonizes himself very well with the entire tune, and it makes it a whole lot more memorable. And it's pretty impressive looking at the fact that Captain Beefheart said himself that he's not a great player at anything, but his harmonica is really, really good. And coming to the second to last track on here, there's Andy. Now, Andy is the track that made me realize something very important about this album and a lot of different music that I listen to on here as a whole. I realized that this album is not one that you can just love after one listen. I have these albums, I have those albums which I listen to and I absolutely love them and I give them high ratings, but this album specifically, I know for sure that after just one listen, it's too much to digest. It's good, but it's incomprehensibly good in some way. So I can tell you right now that although I'm doing this review, I can confidently say that I don't get this album. You see, it's great, I loved it very much, but I think I can love it a whole lot more when I get used to the rhythm and the energies that it resonates. So while my rating might not be the highest it can be, I still believe that this is an album that I will come back to mainly when I have enough free time for it, and in my tedious schedule, that's not a lot of times. So this cover is really funky and it has the now iconic sofa in the middle, and what I do have to say about this cover, it just screams Mothers to me. So you know, there's some things that really scream out the band, like the prism with Pink Floyd, or I don't know, the screaming face of King Crimson, but when I think of Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, this sofa comes to mind, and I can tell you this because I knew this cover beforehand because it was so synonymous with the Mothers. And this cover has so many minute details on it, like I have to make an entire separate video about the cover itself just to get everything across. And of course, this amazing cover was made by the amazing artist Kat Schenkel, which he also made a lot of different covers for the Mothers himself, and he made like other stuff like Trout Mask Replica and, you know, other memorables. And when it does come to memorability, I think that he did a fantastic job on here, because this is a cover that once you see it just doesn't get out of your head. And you know, we see a lot of albums on here. I had this criticism towards Detachment, which I've reviewed lately, when you have a cover that really doesn't represent the music on here. And as I mentioned before, I think that the cover is a way of the artist to appreciate their own music and give it something that is both appealing and very, very signature-esque of the music. And when it comes to this cover of One Size Fits All, it does everything completely great and it makes it an almost perfect cover. So much like the music on here, which really dove down from the entire humor and absurdity that is Frank Zappa, this album is gonna get a somewhat conforming 7 out of 10. Now, as I said, I will come back to this album and I'll probably love it more. I have a ton of albums which I reviewed in the past which I want to change the scores for, but I have to stay true to myself at this present moment, and that's the rating I'm gonna give it. But that is about it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for tomorrow because we're going to be listening to Hey Go by Hey Go. But that's about it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful day and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye, guys.